The Exorcist is a 1973 supernatural horror film directed by William Friedkin with a screenplay by William Peter Blatty, which is based off of the 1971 novel of the same name. It is also produced by William Peter Blatty. The movie stars Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow, Lee J. Cobb, Jason Miller, and Linda Blair. The movie was released December 26, 1973. Yes, the day after Christmas. It runs for 122 minutes long, had a budget of $12 million, and was grossing and grossed at the time $428 million at the box office. It is known as one of the scariest movies of all time, and it's rightfully so. It tells a story about a demonic possession where a young girl is possessed by a demon, and a mother will do all she can to help her by giving and having an exorcism through the help of two Catholic priests. Now, Ellen Burstyn plays the mother, Chris MacNeil, and Linda Blair is Regan MacNeil. Now, there is no kind of small backstory how she became possessed, but there is a little anecdote where she says that she was playing with a Ouija board and she became friends with someone, and this is how she was possessed. Now, Max von Sydow plays Father Merrin, and Jason Miller plays Damien Karras. Lee J. Cobb is Lieutenant William Kinderman. Now, this film, from start to finish, is one of the craziest you will ever see. The anticipation and the growing suspense in this film is one of the best you will ever see, or you will get to witness in a horror film. It's just boom, jump scares here and there with modern day horror. Back then, you had story, you had things to move things along, you had imagery that can't be even compared to today. Now, back in 1973, The Exorcist was released in only 24 theaters, which was known as a four-wall distribution, which basically is a process through which a studio or distributor rents out movie theaters for a period of time and receives all the box office revenue. Now, what they didn't expect is the kind of craziness that ensued with the public and the mass hysteria and the kind of popularity and gain that it famed. And the aspect is that people had physical reactions to this film. It was the fainting, the vomiting, shocking scenes such as certain head-turning scenes, which she does so two times in this movie, the character of Regan. Not only that, the masturbation with the crucifixion scene, and then you have Mercedes McCambridge as the voice of Pazuzu, the demon. Like, absolutely crazy and insane. There are so many memorable moments in this that there are behind the scenes documentaries of what went on set, what William Friedkin did in order to kind of get the cast going and be scared. He used to come up to people and shoot guns behind them and then say action and get that fear. He also slapped one of the actors to get a genuine reaction of crying. Ellen Burstyn also hurt her back, or kind of broke her tailbone in this scene, and it's still in the movie where she goes in to stop Regan from masturbating with the crucifix, and then she gets pulled back and then she falls on her back. That scream is real. Linda Blair hurt her back as well when she's being forced up and down like this. Also, there were other aspects of what happened, and the scenes you see where the cold air, the mist, there were air conditioning units on set that kind of actually made it below zero on certain occasions. That's not CGI. Those are practical effects you see in this film. While it's an insane fun movie, this is lauded as the scariest movie of all time, and it still is. It's one of the greatest horror movies of all time. But to release it the day after Christmas, holy shit, they really, really went somewhere with it. William Peter Blatty did win a Best Adapted Screenplay for this film, and I feel like the film should have won Best Picture, but I feel like they were a little bit scared to give it to a horror movie, especially at that time, when in the 1970s, horror was just becoming a new trope in the genre of filmmaking and films, and actors who were big names weren't really starring in films like this. Now, there are amazing scenes in this, scenes that will stick with you. The pea soup scene where she throws up on Damien Karras, the head-turning scene, the levitation scene, the power of Christ compels you. I can go on and on. The aspect of this movie changes your perception of what a horror film is. People are like, oh, it's overrated. But no, when you watch it, if you watch it at a young age, and kids back then were young, were able to see this film, it leaves a mark on you. It scares you. There are images online, imagery where you see the face that is Linda Blair as the demon or Pazuzu in the full-on makeup. Absolutely scary and mind-blowing. Now, in 2000, there was a re-release of this film, and a director's cut version was added. It's a little bit longer, maybe 20 minutes longer, which brings the total of the film to 2 hours and 20 minutes, where after she and Reagan drive away, we see Dyer pause at the top of the stone steps and kind of walk away, coming across Detective Kinderman. And not only that, we have the spider walk scene that was not in the original cut, which is in the re-release. If that scene was in the original cut, I'm pretty sure more craziness would have happened and ensued. That's a practical effect. They actually hired someone to do that backwards with wires. The thing about this film is that the aspect of the documentary, the behind the scenes making of it, is great. And then when you add, during the director's cut and the re-release, they added subliminal images of the demon Pazuzu coming on screen more quickly, more, interestingly, with how the face was done and the makeup. It's eerie, it's weird, it's creepy. There are some questionable edits in this film that are like, okay, what's going on? There's a scene where Father Karras and Father Merrin are on the floor, and then they look up, we see Reagan, and then the statue comes in, and then all of a sudden it goes to a different edit. The look, the eyes, how Linda Blair played this role was absolutely phenomenal. For being she was at the young age that she started in this film was absolutely crazy. And she should have won an Oscar. Max von Sydow should have been nominated for an acting award. I mean, I thought he was at that age where he was an actor in his mid-70s and 80s. That's how good the makeup was. The practical effects, the aspect of the filmmaking, the cinematography, the score, the music, Tubular Bells, it just works. Ellen Burstyn was really great in this and is still great to this day. This is a phenomenal film from start to finish and has gained a cult following since its release. In 2023, on December 26, 2023, the 50th anniversary of this film. 50 years of The Exorcist. And on October 13th, 2023, it's a kind of direct sequel, The Exorcist Believer, where we see kind of a true sequel to this film that takes place 50 years later, with the character of Ellen Burstyn coming back as Chris MacNeil, where a father played by Leslie Odom Jr. is trying to ask questions. What did you do at that time? The movie looks interesting and amazing, but nothing can compare to this 1973 film. There's a reason this film is what it is. It should not have been remade, sequel, whatever it is. I don't really give a shit what you call it. This just should have been a standalone film. There is a Exorcist 2, The Heretic, Exorcist 3, which has gained a cult following, and a fourth film, which was two different versions of it from two different directors because the studio didn't like each cut. But I will all get into that in my following reviews of this franchise. Great movie from start to finish. The principal photography, like I said, was also difficult, taking place in both the hot desert and kind of a refrigerated set. They don't do that today. The filmmaking back then was very much different than what you know and see today. It's all CGI, this and that. But you add the aspect of practical effects. It's absolutely phenomenal and mind-blowing. And production took kind of twice as long as scheduled because it was almost 3 times the initial budget, which many mishaps have led to a belief that the film was cursed. I will not go into that. Do your research on The Exorcist or Cursed Films, or watch that Cursed Films documentary on Shudder. You'll see what I mean. This is great. This is fun. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why you haven't seen it. Check it out. The Exorcist, for me, it gets 5 out of 5 stars. It is pristine, phenomenal, supernatural horror filmmaking at its best, and the #1 on my list of great, amazing horror films of all time. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about The Exorcist. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? What did you think about the aspect of the story, the filmmaking, the acting? What was your favorite scene in this? What was your least favorite scene? What do you think is the scene that still sticks with you when you remember this movie? For me, it's definitely the head-turning scene. And what other aspect do you think could have been done differently in this movie? Or do you think it's perfect just the way it is? Or do you think it's a little bit overrated and talked about? Or do you think it's just perfect? Let me know in the comment section below, but all the questions I just asked. And also let me know what rating you would give The Exorcist. And be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new review videos on my channel. I will see you all in the next review video. And thank you for tuning in.